So you're thinking about a move to Maryland and you're wanting to know the pros and cons of living here? Great news, you're in the right spot. Today we're jumping into the pros and cons of living in Maryland, and we're getting started right now. What is up, everyone? It's Adam Taylor with the Relentless Home Group of eXp Realty here in Maryland. Hey, if this is your first time joining us and you're looking to learn all about the great state of Maryland, great news, you're in the right spot. We do videos each and every week talking about living here, working here, and most importantly, getting out and enjoying this amazing state and all it has to offer. So if that is the information that you're looking for, please consider hitting the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to give a little bell a click. That way you're alerted every time we put out another video just like this one. Now, right now, I've got to be honest with you. My team and I, we are receiving so many phone calls, text messages, and emails from folks all over the world looking to make a move here to Maryland, and we absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about making a move, we'd love to be a part of that process and help you out, but we just need one thing from you, and that's for you to reach out to us. So please give us a call, shoot us a text message, send us an email, or fan us down with the smoke signal. However you need to get a hold of us, we've got your back when moving to Maryland. Today we're jumping into the pros and cons of living in Maryland. Now, I've lived in Maryland all of my life, well, for the brief exception of just a few years away in college. But nevertheless, I came back, and there's a reason I came back. I absolutely love living here. So we're gonna dive into the pros and cons, but first, I always like to start things out with doing something positive, and I'm gonna talk about the pros, but here's the deal. There are some negative things here in Maryland that you're gonna wanna stay tuned for. So make sure you stick around to the end to get the full picture of what life is like living here in Maryland. The first great thing you need to know about living in Maryland is our abundant job opportunities that we have here within the state. Being that we're very close to Washington, D.C., there's a ton of federal jobs. We've got Aberdeen Proving Ground located in Harford County, which is a U.S. Army military base. On the western side of the Baltimore Beltway, you have the headquarters for the Social Security Administration. And then as you head further south towards Fort Meade, going towards DC, you have the headquarters for NSA. And then as you get down into Washington, DC, you have Joint Base Andrews, the Pentagon, the Capitol, and so much more. Now, the other thing that spawns from this are all the federal contractor jobs that are created because of the needs of the federal government here. So if you're in the government sector, whether you're working directly for the military or the federal government or one of the contractors, hey, there is abundant job growth here. Now let's flip it around too and look at some companies that are sort of headquartered here. And one big organization that's not a company, but it's Johns Hopkins Hospital and University, is probably one of the largest employers that I personally handle and help folks that are taking new positions at Hopkins. And they are recruiting from all over the world. I kid you not. Already this week I've had calls from Germany as well as another call from India. So if you're in the healthcare sector or government sector, you're not going to have any issues finding a job here in Baltimore. And that's what makes it great and very desirable for folks to come here. In addition to that, we've got big companies that call Maryland home. Companies like Under Armour, with their headquarters located right in Baltimore. You've got McCormick Spice Company. In addition to that, you have Pandora, the jewelry company, not the music app on your phone. And then, as I previously mentioned, Johns Hopkins University. So my friends, the abundant job opportunities make moving to Maryland a very, very appealing decision. Another great thing about living in Maryland is our beautiful spaces outdoors. You see, we have the Chesapeake Bay right that essentially bisects Maryland. And if you're a water lover or love to get out on a boat, the bay is a great spot. For those of you that are fishermen, you're gonna be in heaven here because all the tributaries that flow into the Chesapeake Bay, you're gonna be able to fish as well, in addition to the bay and the Atlantic Ocean, which brings me to another thing. Those of you that like the beach, guess what? You're in luck. You can experience and go to the beach here in Ocean City or in Assateague. But on the flip side, if the beach is not your thing and you want to, say, hike in the mountains, great news. You can do that out in Western Maryland in points like Deep Creek Lake, it's a beautiful man-made lake that is quite amazing in all seasons. I kid you not. I vacation there in the summer as well as in the winter, and they both are exceptional. So if you like the outdoors and you like having variety of things to do, Maryland's a spot you got to check out. Another thing you're going to love about living in Maryland is that we are centrally located on the East Coast. Now, here are the benefits of that. If you need to get on a flight out of Baltimore and head down to Florida, it's like a 2 hour and 20-minute flight to get to Florida. Now flip it around the other way. If you had to go north up to Maine, it's only a 90-minute flight. Now let's stay right here and talk about the airport. Baltimore Washington International Airport, otherwise known as BWI, is a hub for Southwest Airlines. Now that's not the only airport that you can fly out of when living in Maryland. You see, some folks are actually going to be closer to the airports in Washington, D.C., which gives you access to Dulles Airport and Reagan National. And between the three airports that you have at your disposal, you're pretty much going to be able to go anywhere in the world that you would absolutely need to go. Let's talk about, hey, we don't want to go up in the air. We just want to stay put here on the ground. We are very close to Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, as well as New York City. And the great thing about going to either Philly or New York is you can drive in a car or you can jump on an Amtrak train. So you can see that the location is prime for pretty much getting anywhere that you need to go on the East Coast, but also anywhere that you need to go all across the world. All right, here's an added benefit when you're not out there working so hard, and it's for you to enjoy all the sports that we have here in Maryland. Maryland's got a ton of professional sports. Let's start out with the NFL. And we have the Baltimore Ravens located right here in Baltimore, and then just south of us, the Washington Commanders play in Landover, Maryland on FedEx Field. Now, if we stay in DC, they've got teams there that are pretty close to Baltimore, and most Marylanders adopt the DC teams as their team, with the exception of football and baseball. So you have the Washington Wizards that play in the NBA, and then you have the Capitals for ice hockey. Now, let's look at baseball. And it's kind of a cool thing that Baltimore and DC are so close for baseball, because you get that sort of crosstown rivalry with the two organizations. And it's a lot of fun because they don't take planes to get to each other's stadiums. They take buses directly from Baltimore down to DC. And it's always a good interleague experience when either the Nationals come here to Baltimore or we go on down to DC. Both stadiums are great. You're going to love them, especially those of you that are baseball fans. Next thing you'll love about living in Maryland is the food. Now, Maryland is famous for its seafood. I absolutely love all the seafood, but we sort of get pigeonholed, especially the NFL. Come on, Roger Goodell. Stop just showing everybody eating a crab cake or picking crabs every time an NFL game is showed here in Baltimore. Sort of drives me nuts. Why don't we go look at some of the other great restaurants within inside the city, and let's go down to like Little Italy, for goodness sake. They have some amazing Italian food. You have a large Hispanic population here and Greek population that give us access to some of their foods. And I can go on and on about this. And let's not get started with some of the desserts here. Have you all ever had a burger cookie? Let me tell you about a burger cookie. So it's a shortbread cookie, and then it's like thick chocolate icing on top that's just so good. I'm telling you, if you haven't had a burger cookie, you got to do yourself a favor when you're here. Get yourself some burgers. And last but not least, we're going to go back to the seafood theme. And Old Bay, my friends, is a spice of life. We put Old Bay on pretty much everything. Not only our seafood, or crabs, or shrimp. We put it on our corn on the cob when we're eating crabs. We put it on popcorn. I can go on and on about this, but you will learn that Old Bay is like a household name here in Maryland. And as we move along here, this is going to be sort of a point of transition. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm going to talk about the weather next. And as I mentioned earlier, guess what? You're going to be able to experience all 4 seasons here in Maryland. So let's start out in the winter. Hey, we can get dumped on with a ton of snow, or we can get next to nothing in snow. The last few years, knock on wood, we've been pretty thankful that we haven't really seen a big snowstorm, but we've had blizzards here where we've had snow as high as 3 feet. So be prepared when moving to Maryland for cold temperatures and a lot of snow. Now, you're going to have spring and then summer. And quite honestly, in my opinion, the spring is the best season in Maryland because everything starts to bloom again. And it just looks beautiful with all the trees and the waterways and parks that we have. You'll love it. Now, our summers, hey, they can get very hot and very humid. And I'm telling you, like, you will be drenched just walking out the door in the morning because of the humidity here in the air. And you may have to bring a change of clothes with you to work to change into. So those of you that are coming from points north here to Maryland, you may be in for a little bit of a shock when you experience the humidity and the heat here. And then lastly, we have the fall season. Now the fall is beautiful because, as I mentioned, all of the trees, when they're blooming, well, all the leaves are going to change colors. And it just looks stunning. As a matter of fact, you'll see here in Maryland that the majority of the weddings that are done seem to be in the fall, in my opinion. Now, I don't have any statistical analysis to back that up, but that's just what I've seen from weddings I've been invited to and friends that I've known that have gotten married. The only thing that stinks about fall is the winds really pick up here and all the daggone leaves fall down and you got to rake them up. So it's a pro if you like to experience all 4 seasons, but it's also a con if you can't really handle the extreme temperatures, whether hot or cold, the humidity, or the snow. An additional thing that you need to be aware of when moving to Maryland is our high housing cost. Right now, Maryland's about 13% higher than the national average for purchasing a home. Areas that are most affected by this are the areas from Baltimore down to Washington, D.C. So if you really look at the 95 or 295 corridor from basically Baltimore all the way down to DC, you're going to see some of the highest housing prices in the state. In addition to that, the zip codes right around Washington, DC, in particular, like Bethesda, housing prices there are off the charts and some of the highest in the entire country. So be prepared when moving to Maryland that you're probably going to have to fork over a little bit more for your home than you do presently where you are. Another thing you need to be prepared for here in Maryland is the traffic. The traffic, in my opinion, can be atrocious. I've only been probably 2 other places in the entire US where I've seen traffic worse than it is here in the Baltimore, DC region, and that is in LA and, believe it or not, in Orlando, Florida. But it's no joke. Now, those of you that are going to live around the Baltimore area, you're going to get a little bit more of a break because the Baltimore Beltway is very busy and very congested, but it is nothing, and I mean nothing, in comparison to the Washington, D.C. Beltway, which is Interstate 495. If you have to travel on 495 to go into work into D.C. or to points south into Virginia, my friend, be prepared to sit in traffic, be prepared and budget for new brakes on your car, and to be spending plenty of money in gas because it is a costly endeavor to commute down into Washington, D.C. each and every day, which is why so many folks either use the subway system from the train stop in New Carrollton and take that into D.C., or they use the MARC train, some other means of transportation to avoid driving through traffic each and every day. So with that said, traffic really here is not the greatest. If you want a little bit of a break on traffic, you're going to have to look at points on the Eastern Shore or in one of the outlying counties, either in the northeast portion of the state or in the western portion of the state as well. Something else you need to be aware of on the roads are all the bridges that we have in the state. The biggest of the bridges is the Chesapeake Bay Bridge that's located in Annapolis and actually takes you on over to the eastern shore of Maryland. So if you're ever traveling, say through the Baltimore, Annapolis area and wanting to go to the beach in Ocean City, you're gonna have to go over this bridge. Other bridges in the state that you need to know about are the Key Bridge along the Baltimore Beltway that goes over the Baltimore Harbor. You also have the Interstate 95 bridge over the Susquehanna River between Hartford and Cecil County. In Cecil County, you actually have a really big bridge that goes over the C&O Canal and into Chesapeake City that you need to be aware of. And the final bridge, and I still need to know the name of this bridge. So those of you here in Maryland or Virginia that travel it, do me a favor, comment below what the name of the bridge is. I can't remember it. I just need to look it up. But it's the bridge that goes from Route 301 into Virginia from Maryland. I believe it goes over the Potomac River. And that bridge, whoo-wee, that caught me off guard when I went over it, because I don't like bridges, my friends. And I'm just being straight and honest with you. That bridge will, I'm getting goosebumps even talking about it here right now, but it'll give you goosebumps. All right, if you're finding value in this video, if you would, do me a favor, hit the like button down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and click that little bell to be notified every time we put out another video. Now, I would love to hear your comments or concerns about Maryland. What are you looking for? What do you want to make sure Maryland has? Drop it below. Now, a big item that you want to make sure you're aware of are the taxes charged here in the state of Maryland. Presently, right now, our sales tax is sitting at about 6%, and you're going to pay sales tax pretty much on everything that you buy, except, and this is a big exception, your staple grocery items. Your milk, your eggs, your meats, your cheeses, your cereals, those sorts of things. But anything beyond a normal grocery item, you're going to pay sales tax on. Then you've got our income taxes, you've got our property taxes, which are very high compared to the rest of the US, and it doesn't stop there. You're going to have taxes on your vehicles, you're going to have entertainment taxes, you're going to have additional property taxes, possibly dependent upon where you live with inside the state, and it just keeps adding up and adding up. So you really need to budget for these items, because quite honestly, it's going to cost you a little bit more to live here than where you're probably coming from, except if you're coming from a place like Hawaii, Washington, D.C., New York, California. Then you're probably going to save a little bit and be thankful that you're here in Maryland. But when I look at this, the whole scope of the pros and cons of living in Maryland, I do look at that tax revenue going back into the state, because I will say this, and even though I gripe about it from time to time, they do put a lot of the money back into keeping the roads up and improving the roads, or putting them back into our parks and making them great for all of us to use. So you do get something in return for the taxes you pay. You're just not directly seeing it. It's not like you're opening up a Christmas gift to look at what your taxes bought you this year. So there you go, my friends. Look, those are some of the pros and cons of living here in the great state of Maryland. Now, if a move to Maryland is in your future, as I mentioned in the very beginning of the video, my team and I, hey, we would love to help you out in your transition and be a part of that. But we just need one thing from you, and that's for you to reach out to us. So please give us a call, shoot us a text message, or send us an email. However you need to get a hold of us. Look, we got your back when moving here to Maryland from Baltimore, down the bay, all the way to the beaches in Ocean City. We got you covered. Till the next video, I will catch you later, my friends.